There are times in life when we face people who don't just dislike us, but actively seek to destroy us, our confidence, our peace, our sense of self. This might sound extreme, but in reality, it's something that can creep into our relationships without us fully recognizing it. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where someone seemed to just want to tear you down at every turn? Maybe it's subtle, small comments that leave you feeling off or deeply hurt. Or maybe it's more direct, when someone takes pleasure in your struggles or misfortune. If you've experienced this, you know how confusing and damaging it can be. But what if I told you that understanding this dynamic could be the key to protecting your peace, your energy, and your future? Today we're diving into this phenomenon. We're not just looking at how to identify people who are out to get you, but more importantly, how to protect yourself from their destructive behavior and reclaim your power. Before we get into it, I want you to do something for me. If you feel this message is speaking to you, if something in this video resonates with where you are in your life, take a moment to hit that subscribe button. You'll be joining a space where we focus on healing, growth, and inner peace without the distractions. We're here to be real, to reflect, and to grow together. I know it's hard to imagine that anyone could actively want to destroy you, but the truth is, these individuals don't often show up in the ways we expect. They don't wear their ill intentions on their sleeves. Instead, they often wear the mask of concern, friendship, or even love. So why does this happen? What is it about some people that causes them to treat others with such malice or disregard? It's a deeply human issue, and it's often rooted in envy, insecurity, or the need to feel superior to others. But understanding the why is just the beginning. What really matters is how we recognize these signs and protect ourselves when these toxic dynamics start to unfold. Now stay with me, because the last point in this video will hit home. It's the one that completely shifted my perspective on how I approach relationships today. Let's get into it. Sign 1. They discredit your achievements. The first sign that someone doesn't just dislike you, they want to destroy you, is when they consistently try to discredit your achievements. At first, this may seem like a small thing, maybe even like harmless banter, but when it happens repeatedly, it's not just frustrating, it's incredibly destructive. Maybe you've experienced it yourself. You share something you've worked hard for, something that truly means a lot to you, a promotion, a creative project, a personal breakthrough. And instead of being met with encouragement or even just acknowledgement, you get comments like, "Oh, anyone could have done that," or, "Well, you've had it easier than most people." It doesn't seem like much on the surface, but in reality, these comments aren't just criticism. They are attempts to make you feel like what you've accomplished isn't valid, doesn't count, or isn't worthy of celebration. The goal behind this kind of manipulation is to diminish your accomplishments and ultimately your sense of self-worth. Over time, this constant undermining can erode your confidence and leave you questioning your value and what you bring to the table. I've had this experience personally. I remember sharing a project I had poured my heart and soul into. A project I was so proud of, something I had spent countless hours refining. When I finally shared it with someone close to me, someone I thought would understand the effort I put in, they looked at it and said, "It's not that big of a deal." That moment stayed with me for a long time. At first, I brushed it off, but deep down, I felt a sting, a sense of rejection, like all the work I had done was somehow devalued. It wasn't just a casual remark. It was a direct attempt to take something precious to me and make it feel small. At first, I tried to rationalize it. Maybe they didn't understand. Maybe they were just having a bad day. But as time went on, I realized this wasn't just a thoughtless comment. It was a form of emotional destruction designed to make me question not just the value of my project, but the value of my efforts in general. The more this kind of behavior happened, the more I started doubting myself. It was as if they were trying to make me shrink. And that's the thing with discrediting achievements. It's never really about the achievement itself. It's about the manipulation that follows. It's about shaking your confidence until you stop believing in your own abilities. When this type of discrediting behavior happens repeatedly, it starts to take its toll. It's not just the sting of one isolated comment. It's the pattern, the consistent invalidation of your experiences, your accomplishments, and even your dreams. These comments may seem like harmless critiques on the surface, but they're carefully designed to chip away at your sense of worth, your belief in your own abilities, and your future potential. Over time, this can lead to something called imposter syndrome. The more you hear that your successes don't count, the more you start to wonder, do I deserve this? You start second-guessing your value and your right to be proud of what you've accomplished. You might even go as far as to question whether you really earned your success or if it was just luck. This is the psychological toll that these subtle, undermining comments can have. They don't just challenge your success in the moment, they begin to distort how you see yourself in the long run. What's even more dangerous about this behavior is that it leaves no obvious scars. It's not like physical abuse where the damage is visible. This kind of manipulation takes place on an emotional and mental level. The scars left behind are invisible, but deeply felt. And that's why it can take a while to even recognize it for what it is. It's easy to overlook these moments and dismiss them as just words or just one person's opinion. But when these comments happen over and over, they start to seep into your subconscious. They begin to form an underlying belief: I'm not good enough, I don't matter, I'm not deserving of success. These toxic patterns don't just stop at your achievements. They start to affect your entire perception of yourself. Instead of feeling proud of your hard work and the progress you've made, you start to doubt every step, every goal, and every victory. It's like walking on shaky ground, always questioning if you can ever truly be proud of your own life and what you've created. So let's pause for a moment. Think about your own life. Have you ever shared something meaningful to you? An achievement, a milestone, or even just something you were excited about, only to have someone brush it off or belittle it? What was that experience like for you? How did it make you feel in the moment? And more importantly, how did you respond? Did you shrink and second-guess yourself? Or did you find a way to stand firm in your worth, despite the comment? Take a moment to reflect on that, because when you start recognizing this pattern, you also start realizing that you don't have to let it take root in your heart. You don't have to let these comments define your sense of self-worth. Now let's dig into why someone might do this in the first place. Why do some people try to discredit others' achievements rather than celebrate them? It's a form of power, control, and insecurity all wrapped up in one. When someone constantly diminishes your successes, they're attempting to make themselves feel better by putting you down. Think about it. If they can make you feel small or insignificant, it elevates their own sense of importance. But here's the kicker. They're only doing this because deep down, they feel insecure themselves. They need to diminish others in order to feel better about their own lives. They can't stand the thought of you being more successful or more accomplished. So they try to make you feel like your accomplishments don't matter. And here's the real danger. They do this not because of anything you've done wrong, but because of their own inner struggles and insecurities. Their need to control and belittle is an expression of their fear and envy, not your inadequacy. If you allow these comments to go unchecked, they can begin to affect how you navigate the world. It can cause you to retreat, to stop sharing your victories, and to become guarded about your achievements. This kind of emotional erosion is what allows these manipulative individuals to continue taking away your sense of self-worth. But what's even worse is that these discrediting behaviors start to chip away at your inner narrative. You begin to doubt your own value and become hesitant to pursue new goals. Over time, this internalized self-doubt can prevent you from taking risks, from stepping into your full potential, and from celebrating your success. Eventually, you may even start to silence your own voice, because you fear that no matter what you do, someone will always find a way to diminish it. But that's not the only way these people try to tear us down. The next sign is much more insidious and harder to spot in the moment. It's one that can truly keep you stuck in a cycle of self-doubt, and it's tied to something most of us don't even realize we're doing. Yet, stay with me. This next one might be the most damaging of all. Sign 2. They create doubt about your self-worth. The second sign that someone doesn't just dislike you, they want to destroy you, is when they subtly yet constantly create doubt about your self-worth. They have this uncanny ability to know exactly which buttons to push to make you question your value. This type of manipulation isn't loud or overt, it's quiet, and it can be extremely difficult to recognize in the moment. But the impact can be devastating, especially over time. It might look like making backhanded compliments or pretending to help you while subtly undermining your confidence. For example, a friend might say, "You're really pretty for someone who doesn't try too hard," or "You're so lucky people like you. I could never be as outgoing as you." On the surface, these comments might seem innocent, even like compliments. But underneath, they are carefully crafted to make you feel insecure about who you are, so that you begin to rely on their validation instead of trusting yourself. It's a covert way of making you question your value and your place in the world, all while making them seem like they're being supportive. I'll share an experience that hit me deeply. There was someone close to me who, after I achieved something significant in my life, casually said, "You wouldn't be where you are without my support." At first, I didn't even realize what that comment was doing to me. It seemed like a throwaway remark, something they said in passing. But over time, it lingered in the back of my mind, and I began questioning my accomplishments. Were they really mine, or was I just someone who was only successful because of their help? I started second-guessing my abilities, feeling unsure of whether I deserved the things I had worked so hard for. And that's the problem with this type of manipulation. It's so subtle that it sneaks under your radar. What starts as a simple comment or seemingly helpful remark can grow into a cloud of doubt that hangs over you. distorting your perception of yourself. What was once a clear, confident self-image starts to erode, leaving you questioning everything about who you are and what you're capable of. Now let's explore how this manipulation works. These people are masters of the backhanded compliment, or what I call the Trojan horse compliment. On the surface, it seems like praise or support, but hidden underneath is a sharp jab designed to make you feel less than. Think about this. Have you ever had someone say something like, "You're so brave to wear that, I could never pull that off"? Or, "You're so smart for someone who didn't go to college"? These types of remarks are designed to make you question your sense of self-worth, making you believe that you're only worthy because of the kindness or tolerance of others. They're saying, "You don't really measure up unless I make you feel like you do." Over time, the person starts to make you feel like their validation is the only one that matters. If they see you as worthy, then you are. But if they criticize you through these subtle jabs or backhanded compliments, it makes you question your worth all over again. Instead of feeling secure in your own skin, you start to need their approval to feel good about yourself. What makes this form of manipulation so dangerous is that it doesn't just affect you in the moment, it builds a slow, corrosive effect on your psyche. The more they plant these little seeds of doubt, the more they start to take root in your mind. You might begin to think, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not deserving of my success. Maybe I am relying too much on others to feel validated. This constant doubt can lead to something called external validation dependence. Instead of deriving your self-worth from your internal sense of value, you start looking to others for reassurance. You become reliant on their approval and opinions to feel good about yourself. And this dependence makes you vulnerable. It shifts your internal compass away from your truth and onto the opinions of others, leaving you without a solid foundation. The more you need others' validation, the less confident you become in your own worth. Let's take a moment to reflect. Can you recall a time when someone made you doubt your own worth or question your capabilities? Maybe it wasn't a huge blow to your confidence, but more like a drip, drip, drip of small comments over time. How did that affect your confidence? Did you start questioning whether you deserved what you had achieved or if you were truly capable? And more importantly, did you let them control how you saw yourself? Because that's the real danger here. Not just the comments, but how they make you internalize these doubts about your value and your place in the world. Reflect on this. Are there any voices in your life that make you feel smaller or less than every time you achieve something? Here's the thing. Recognizing this behavior is the first step in reclaiming your worth. When you catch yourself questioning your value after a backhanded comment, take a moment to pause. Ask yourself, does this comment truly reflect who I am, or is it an attempt to diminish me and my accomplishments? Start affirming your worth in your own terms. Your value is not defined by someone else's approval or by their inability to recognize your strengths. You are allowed to stand in the power of your own achievements, regardless of how others try to make you feel. Remember this: your worth isn't conditional on external validation. You don't need anyone's approval to know that you are enough, that you are capable, and that you are deserving of every good thing that comes your way. Own your accomplishments, own your worth, and don't let anyone take that away from you. But creating doubt about your worth isn't the only way these toxic individuals try to tear you down. The next sign is even more insidious. because it's something that feels like it comes out of nowhere. It's something that can really leave you spinning, making you question everything. Stay with me. This one will hit close to home. Key sign 3. They exploit your vulnerabilities. The third sign that someone doesn't just dislike you, they want to destroy you, is when they exploit your vulnerabilities. We all have parts of ourselves that are fragile, places where we've been hurt before or are still healing. Maybe it's an old wound from your past, like a painful breakup or a childhood trauma. Or maybe it's something you're still grappling with, like insecurities about your appearance or struggles with mental health. A person who seeks to destroy you will notice these vulnerabilities and use them against you. And what makes this sign so dangerous is that it's done in such a calculated way. It might not be obvious at first, but they'll bring up these deeply personal topics at the most inopportune moments, either to mock you or to make you feel ashamed about things that are part of who you are. They'll exploit your weakest points to make you feel small, embarrassed, or unworthy. I want to share a deeply personal story with you. I once opened up to someone about something very close to my heart, something I had struggled with for a long time. I trusted them with my vulnerability, hoping that they would understand, that they would support me and help me heal. But instead, they used my vulnerability as a weapon. In the heat of an argument, they brought up something I had shared in confidence, twisting it to make me feel weak, flawed, and inadequate. It wasn't just a casual mention. It was a deliberate attempt to hurt me. They didn't just disagree with me. They used my deepest insecurities against me. And in that moment, I realized something that shook me. This wasn't just someone who disliked me or had a momentary lapse in judgment. This was someone actively trying to destroy the very thing that made me feel safe and human. They attacked my sense of self-worth and my trust in them in a way that left a lasting scar. This type of manipulation isn't just about being cruel for the sake of it. It's strategic. People who exploit your vulnerabilities know exactly what they're doing. They pay attention to your sensitive spots, your past pain, and the things that make you feel less than perfect. And when the moment is right, or when they want to control the situation, they'll strike. It's not always blatant. Sometimes they'll act as if they're being honest or helpful when they bring up your struggles, but there's always an underlying sense of mockery or shame attached to it. For example, they might say something like, "I thought you were over that by now," or "I didn't know you still cared about that. It seems so trivial." These are calculated attempts to make you feel less than. They're trying to reduce you to your weakest moments, to make you feel like you can't grow or move beyond your struggles. They want to keep you in that vulnerable place so they can maintain control over how you view yourself. What makes this so damaging is that it goes straight to the heart of who you are. Vulnerabilities are deeply personal and often tied to our sense of identity and self-worth. When someone uses those vulnerabilities against you, it feels like an attack on your very humanity. It's more than just a mean comment. It's an attempt to make you feel ashamed of your experiences, your pain, your growth. It undermines your trust in others and in yourself. When you can't feel safe with the people you trust, it makes it harder to heal or move forward. And this is exactly what someone who wants to destroy you does. They target your weakest spots, chip away at your confidence, and diminish your sense of self-acceptance. Let's take a pause for a moment. Think back to a time when you shared something deeply vulnerable with someone. Whether it was a fear, a past trauma, or an insecurity. How did that person respond? Did they honor your vulnerability, or did they use it as a tool to hurt you, make you feel small, or shame you? How did that change the way you felt about them? And more importantly, how did it affect your relationship with yourself? Did it make you question your worth or your right to be open and vulnerable with others? Take a moment to reflect on how those moments of exploitation have shaped your view of trust and self-acceptance. It's so important to recognize that your vulnerabilities are not weaknesses. They are a part of what makes you human, and they deserve to be handled with care, not weaponized. So, how do you protect yourself from this kind of manipulation? First, recognize that your vulnerabilities are sacred. They are parts of you that deserve respect and care, not exploitation. When you share something personal, you are trusting someone with a piece of your soul. If they use it against you, that trust is broken. Start by setting clear boundaries around your vulnerabilities. You don't have to share everything with everyone. And when you do share something deeply personal, make sure you're sharing it with people who have earned the right to hear it. People who will handle your vulnerability with compassion and understanding. And most importantly, learn to protect your self-worth. Your value doesn't depend on anyone's approval or ability to validate your experiences. Even if someone tries to exploit your past or your weaknesses, your worth is inherent and unshakable. Hold on to that truth and don't let anyone make you feel like you should be ashamed of who you are or what you've been through. But exploitation of your vulnerabilities is just one of the many ways these people try to destroy your sense of self. The next sign is something that might appear as kindness on the surface, but is actually one of the most dangerous tactics they use. Stick with me, because this next one will completely change the way you see help from others. Sign 4. They pretend to help you, but actually hurt you. The fourth sign is a tricky one. They pretend to help you, but actually hurt you. This might look like someone offering their help at just the right moment, giving what seems like well-meaning advice, or stepping in when you need support. On the surface, it feels like help. You might be grateful, feeling relieved that someone is looking out for you. But when you accept their assistance, something strange happens. Instead of feeling supported, you end up feeling more drained, confused, or even trapped. For example, they might offer career advice that seems wise at first, but ultimately limits your potential or boxes you in. Or they might help with a personal project, only to leave you feeling more overwhelmed and exhausted than when you started. They wrap their harmful intentions in a package that looks like support, and this is the danger when help turns into a hindrance. Over time, their well-meaning facade wears you down, leaving you second-guessing your choices and unsure about who to trust. I remember a time when someone I trusted offered me advice that seemed harmless at first. I was facing a career decision, and they said, "You should take the safer route, the one that guarantees stability, even if it's not what you love." At the time, it felt like practical advice. It was the kind of thing you'd hear from someone who genuinely cared about your well-being. But as I took that advice and moved forward, I realized that their version of stability actually meant limiting my potential. It wasn't about what was best for me. It was about what was best for them or what made them feel comfortable. I ended up fitting into a mold that didn't align with my values, and I began to feel stuck, disconnected from what I really wanted. I had trusted their guidance, but in reality, they were steering me away from what would fulfill me. What I came to understand is that people who manipulate you in this way are experts at masking their true intentions. Their advice and help don't empower you. They keep you in a place where they can maintain control over your decisions. It's as if they're trying to rewrite your story without ever asking you if that's what you want. This manipulation is particularly effective because it plays on something we all value: support. We all need help from time to time, and when someone offers it in a way that seems thoughtful, it's easy to fall into the trap of believing they have your best interest at heart. But the truth is, people who want to destroy your sense of self often use this tactic to keep you dependent on them. They offer advice or assistance that keeps you in a place of confusion or insecurity. For example, they might tell you, "I only want what's best for you," while guiding you toward decisions that keep them in control or reinforce their own narrative. This help is often framed as love or concern, but it's really just another way to undermine your independence and self-trust. The hardest part about this tactic is that it makes you question your own judgment. When someone offers help that seems thoughtful, it's easy to start doubting your own decisions, especially if their advice sounds rational or well-intended. But over time, this can make you feel like you need to rely on them more and more, unable to make choices without their input. The problem is, their input doesn't lead you closer to your true path. It leads you further away from your authentic self. This constant undermining of your ability to make decisions can be incredibly damaging. It makes you question your own intuition, and soon you find yourself making decisions that don't feel true to who you are. You become disconnected from your inner wisdom and instead rely on others to decide what's best for you. I want you to pause and reflect on a moment when you accepted help or advice from someone, only to realize later that it didn't help you at all. Think about the advice or support that made you feel more confused or unsure. How did it impact your confidence in your own decisions? Did it make you feel like you couldn't trust yourself? Can you recall a time when someone's advice, though well-meaning, actually led you in a direction that wasn't aligned with your true self? Take a moment to reflect on how this shaped your sense of trust, not just in them, but in your own judgment. So how do you protect yourself from this kind of manipulation? The first step is to start trusting your own intuition. When someone offers help or advice, take a moment to check in with yourself. Does it align with your values, your goals, and your needs? Or does it feel like they're trying to shape your decisions to suit their own agenda? It's important to recognize when help is genuinely supportive and when it's a way for someone to assert control over you. Your decisions are your own, and while it's always wise to consider advice from others, don't let anyone lead you down a path that doesn't resonate with who you truly are. Set boundaries around who gets to advise you and learn to trust that your intuition is a powerful guide. You are capable of making choices that honor your authentic self. Don't let anyone undermine that. But even pretending to help is not the only weapon in their arsenal. The final sign is one of the most dangerous and hardest to recognize because it often comes disguised as care. Stick with me, because this one will completely shift how you view those who claim to have your best interests at heart. The final sign that someone doesn't just dislike you, but wants to destroy you, is when they try to isolate you from others. At first, this isolation might seem small, even subtle. They may start by making negative comments about your friends or family, suggesting that they don't have your best interests at heart, or maybe they'll try to create conflict between you and people who care about you, sowing seeds of doubt in your relationships. Over time, the goal becomes clear. They want to separate you from your support system. They want to weaken the connections that make you feel safe, loved, and grounded. This way, they can gain more control over you and your decisions, because without the strength of your community, they know you're more vulnerable to their influence. It's a slow erosion of your support network that can leave you feeling like you have no one left to trust but them. I've been in situations where someone close to me tried to turn me against the people I loved. I remember once, a person I trusted made a comment about my friend. "Do you really think they have your best interests at heart? I think they're just using you." At first, I brushed it off, but over time, these comments grew more frequent. Every time I mentioned someone I was close to, they would find a way to criticize them or plant seeds of doubt. "Are you sure they're not just taking advantage of you?" Or, "I don't think your family really cares about you as much as you think." This kind of isolation isn't always obvious. It might sound like they're just looking out for you, offering their perspective for your own protection, but beneath it all, they're trying to create distance between you and the people who love you. Eventually, I began to feel confused, questioning my relationships and wondering if I was just being naive. I started pulling away from friends and family, believing that maybe they didn't have my best interests at heart. But when I stepped back and reflected on what was happening, I realized that the person who seemed the most concerned about me was the one who had been sowing the division all along. This tactic can be incredibly insidious because it often feels like care or concern on the surface. A person might say things like, "I just don't want you to get hurt," or "I don't think they're good for you," while undermining the very relationships that make you feel supported. What's happening here is psychological manipulation. They're trying to plant doubt about the people around you, gradually making you feel like they're the only one who truly understands you or has your best interests at heart. This is a strategic way of gaining control by weakening your social connections and fostering a sense of dependency on them alone. Once they isolate you, they hold more power over your decisions and actions. You become more vulnerable to their influence and more reliant on their approval. Over time, you may find yourself withdrawing from friends and family, doubting their intentions, and relying more and more on the manipulator. The sad irony is that what begins as a concern for your well-being can turn into a total breakdown of your support system, leaving you feeling alone and isolated. The emotional toll of this kind of isolation can be devastating. It chips away at your confidence and sense of security. You start to feel like you're walking through life alone, unsure who you can trust. What makes this especially dangerous is that, in many cases, the person trying to isolate you is someone who claims to care for you. They might even express this care in ways that make you feel guilty for questioning them. They might say, "I'm only trying to protect you from people who will hurt you," while simultaneously pushing you away from the ones who have always had your back. The longer you stay in this isolated state, the more difficult it becomes to see things clearly. Your view of your relationships becomes clouded, and you may even start doubting the love and support that was once so certain. Think about a time when someone tried to isolate you from others. Can you recall a moment when someone planted seeds of doubt about a friend or family member, trying to make you question their loyalty or intentions? How did that make you feel? Did you start questioning your relationships or pulling away from people who once felt like a safe haven? Take a moment to reflect on how this manipulation affected your sense of trust and connection. And more importantly, how did you respond? Did you recognize the tactic for what it was? Or did it leave you feeling more uncertain and alone? The best way to protect yourself from this type of manipulation is to strengthen your relationships and stay rooted in your community. Trust the people who have consistently supported you and be cautious of anyone who tries to make you feel like your support network is untrustworthy or harmful. It's important to remember that healthy, genuine relationships are built on trust and mutual respect, not on division or suspicion. If you notice someone trying to pull you away from those who love you, take a step back and evaluate their intentions. True support comes from those who want to see you thrive in all areas of life, not from people who try to separate you from your support system for their own benefit. You deserve to have a strong foundation of people who lift you up and care for you. Don't let anyone isolate you from that love. Isolation is one of the most damaging tactics someone can use to control and diminish you. But recognizing these signs is the first step toward reclaiming your strength and your connections. Now, as we close, let's take a moment to recap and ground ourselves in what we've learned today. So to recap, they discredit your achievements. They create doubt about your self-worth. They exploit your vulnerabilities. They pretend to help, but hurt you. They try to isolate you from others. Each of these signs can be subtle, but they all have the same purpose: to make you question yourself, your value, and your ability to stand firm in your truth. Remember this: there are people in this world who will try to destroy you, not because of anything you've done, but because of their own insecurities and need for control. But you don't have to let them. You have the power to protect your peace, set your boundaries, and choose who you allow in your life. You are stronger than you know. You are worthy of love, respect, and peace. And anyone who wants to take that from you isn't worth your time or energy. You're not alone in this journey. Together we're learning, growing, and becoming more resilient. If any of this resonated with you, share your thoughts in the comments. How do you protect your energy? How do you deal with people who don't have your best interests at heart? If this video helped you in any way, take a second to subscribe. We're building a community where we grow and heal together, without the noise. Take care of yourself. Protect your energy. You are worthy of a life that nourishes you.